welcome back to the channel. This is like a very special episode. We're sitting with the Ethan Newton. He is a co-founder of the Bryceland Co. Let's start with the first questions. How did you getting started with the Bryceland Co?
So it started 8 years ago.
Okay.
I'd met Kenji, my business partner, and told him that I had an idea for a business that I really wanted to pursue. And he was keen to come on board with me and help me out doing the things that I'm not as good at. He can take care of the things that I tend to forget about. So I moved back to Japan 8 years ago, and we opened our first store 7.5 years ago in Tokyo. Mostly just selling tailoring. We sold custom tailoring from Reproduction on Sartorial from Naples, shoes from St. Crispin's, shirts from Ascot Chang, ties from Sevenfold. So it was kind of just a classic menswear store. And then as the business grew, I started reaching back to my history working with denim and wanting to make some of the things that were missing from my wardrobe. Like I couldn't find a perfect Western shirt. I wanted the original Levi's sawtooth shirt, but Levi's didn't make it to the same quality anymore. It was never quite right, so I figured I'll just make one. Started doing a pair of jeans and a sawtooth shirt in denim just for me and Kenji to wear essentially. I mean, our business is mostly just based on the things that I want to wear or he wants to wear. The unique vintage things I find that we can recreate, put our little twist on. So yeah, it's grown from there and now we sell a lot of our original brand.
You're talking about a fair play. If you buy stuff from the Bryceland Co, everything go back to the craftsmanship.
Yeah, I think that as a business, I want to promote people who are doing really good ethical business. We work with manufacturers who generally their business is making product. They're not in the business of advertising. They're not in the business of social media. They're in the business of making really good product. So we try and focus on creating the best quality things that we can make and keeping the price fair as we can make it and still continue in business. But if it's not of a quality that I want to wear or that Kenji wants to wear, if we're not happy with it, I don't want to sell it. It's not something that I would enjoy as a business. So we are the reason that we make to a certain quality because we are the ultimate customers of our own brand.
What is kind of, I mean, like it's a good thing, but it's kind of weird because to do the business, you need to do like the profit every year, right?
Yeah, of
you
course.
need to make a lot of.
Yeah.
But for your standing point, you're not.
I mean, of course we want to make money. We want to continue to be successful and I want to be able to continue buying cool vintage clothes. But I'm not going to forsake the quality of my products.
Right.
Or, I mean, if I wanted to make a lot of money, I wouldn't work in fashion. It's not a great way of making a lot of money, but I don't really have a choice. This is my life's work. It's my passion. I don't want to do anything else except play guitar and listen to music. Clothing is the only other thing that I really love. So, of course we want to make a profit, but I wouldn't sacrifice my own sense of satisfaction in a business to do so.
If you can describe the Bryceland Co as a person, who is a Bryceland?
As a person, that's interesting. I would say a Bryceland Co person or a customer is someone who has an interest in clothing, someone for whom clothing is more than a means just not to be naked. So people who like to express themselves through their clothing, and I think it's particularly for people who actually want to express themselves. They're not trying to express someone else's brand or somebody else's vision. They're trying to find beautiful classic clothing that they can make part of their own presentation to the world.
So how about a person, like a name that you can give us?
Me. I mean, I am the Bryceland's customer. I make this product for me and I make it for Kenji, and so many of our customers have become really close friends. So, you know, I make it for people I know there's a gap in their wardrobe. There's something that they really need. So that's something that we look forward to make. I want everything that we sell to become part of somebody's wardrobe to the point that they wear it until it falls apart. I want the great memories of my friends and my customers' lives to also have a little bit of Bryceland's involved. I want them to have gone on that trip wearing our jeans or gone to a resort wearing our towel shirt and have those great memories. And I want our business to help men find their own voice when it comes to dressing. Because we all dress differently. Even in my business, we all dress differently. We all have our own personalities that we express through the clothing. And that's why I want the clothing to be as classic as possible so that you can color it your own way.
If you can give us like a little bit of advice, essential thing that you think guys like 30 up, like 30 years old up, should have in their closet.
I think the idea of any particular rule, I mean, all rules are meant to be broken.
Oh, right.
And
yeah,
I think
yeah,
that
sure.
particularly in this sense, there is no hard and fast rule on how somebody should dress. The advice I would give is understand who it is you want to present to the world. are you? And when you figure that out, then you can tailor your wardrobe to express that. And for some people, that means they want to be in technical sneakers and in sportswear, and that expresses who they are. That's not who I am. And the pieces that I make for my business, I guess for people who are interested in dressing in a classical way. Wear your clothes to fit. If you want clothes that will complement the body. Having worked in the tailoring world for such a long time, I understand that there are proportions from historical fashion. Well, those proportions for a reason. When people started making chinos for the American military in World War II, those people that were making the patterns would have come from a classical tailoring background. This was a period before there was mass-produced clothing. So the ideas that went into those patterns, the idea of having a high waist, the idea of having enough room through the seat to allow stride, the correct amount of taper in the trouser, it was not dictated by fashion, it was dictated by what is flattering to the male body. So wear clothes that will flatter your body, and learning to do that is a great life skill to have, to know what suits you, what proportion suits you, what color suits you. That's from trial and error. You just need to try things on and get to understand what works for you. The best advice I can say to anybody is figure out who you are. When you figure out who you are, then you can use your wardrobe to properly express that to the world. And the way we dress is generally the first thing that people see about us. That initial impression is how do you present yourself physically before you even open your mouth. So having a wardrobe that does express who you are, whoever that happens to be, is only going to aid you in your life.
Wow, that's a big advice. Let's talk about the couple of questions before we are closing. The things that I want to know is that how did you came up with the inspiration for any clothing that you have in your collection?
Most of it comes from vintage. I collect a lot of vintage clothing, particularly because I am fascinated with the patterns. I'm fascinated with the way things fit in this period before the cycle of fashion changed that. I think that before the era of modern men's fashion from the sort of the 60s and 70s, men's clothing trends moved very slowly. It might be 10 years or 15 years as things gradually changed. And because of the nature of the fashion business, the aspects of the fashion business that I avoid, like going on sale and having to clear out your stock
as of seasons.
So I think a lot of businesses got into a trend of we'll make something this season, and the next season we have to make something completely different so that what you wore last season isn't wearable and you need to buy something new. I hate that mentality because I want to wear my clothes till they fall apart. So most of the inspiration for particular garments comes from vintage pieces I've found that have these proportions that are more closely linked to classical tailoring. And from that I often imagine if I was the designer of this product, if I worked for LL Bean in the 1940s or if I was at Levi's in the 1950s and I was creating clothes within the context of that zeitgeist, of that period of time, what would I have produced? And it's almost like some of the products we make, I'm aiming for it to be almost a product from an alternate timeline. It could have been another timeline of the 1940s where LL Bean collaborated with Woolrich and made this particular jacket and this particular fabric. It didn't happen in reality, but it feels like it could have because I want the product to still feel authentic and timeless.
I read the interview that you really like Bryceland to be one of the vintage in the future, like 50 years from now, like everybody just digging for your stuff.
That's a real dream for me. If I was to ever see our product in a discount bin somewhere, it would hurt my heart. I would feel like I've wasted my life. I would feel like I could have done something else and made a lot more money.
Like a play guitar for a living?
I would make a lot less money doing that. But yeah, one of the reasons why we try and maintain a certain level of quality, and there are certain products that require a level of quality and robustness that others don't. A tie should never really be as robust as a pair of jeans because it's worn in a very different way. But I would like the quality of our garments to be as such that they get better every time you wear them until the point where you can't wear them anymore because they're so broken in. And I would like to think that at some point in the future there are people that see that quality and look for those original pieces. If that happens, then I'll feel like I have spent my time on earth well.
Let's talk about the era that you like the most, like 70s, 60s or 80s or 90s.
I think that's kind of like saying what's your favorite cuisine. Every every country has a delicious cuisine, and there is every genre of music is a great genre of music if you find the right track. I think every era has really beautiful clothing. I love certain elements of the 20s. I love the kind of gaslight period opulence of tailoring. I love the 40s, late 40s through to mid 50s Western wear, where American Western clothing was having a bit of a fashion trend. Pee-wee boots and nudie suits and things like that. I love the 60s. I love the hippie movement, flower power. I love all of that. The 70s for heavy metal and rock and roll. And I was a teenager in the 90s. I was 13. Well, I think I was 13 when Nevermind from Nirvana came out. 10 from Pearl Jam. So those grunge fashions of the 90s I also love.
The grunge.
So I would cherry pick certain things from every period.
To be on your collection.
Yes. I think that every era of clothing has had some beautiful iconic pieces made, and I'd like my business to continue producing those iconic pieces so that they last on into the future.
Talk about the store. Can you like telling us if we want to find the stores of the Bryceland Co, where to find it?
Okay, so we have 3 stores currently.
3?
The original store's in Tokyo, in Jingumae, the back of Harajuku.
It's called Jinjumae or Jinjumae?
Jingumae.
Jingumae.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Jingumae. And our second store, which we opened almost 6 years ago, is in Hong Kong on Stanley Street, above my favorite Chinese restaurant, Look You. We're on the 7th floor.
Okay.
And then our most recent store opened in London on Chiltern Street in Marylebone. We opened this January.
Last question, Ethan. What is your favorite music? Let's give us a hint, you know. Do you really get into like a music a lot?
I think that the Beatles is the greatest band of all time, and if you want to be guaranteed to have an amazing album from start to finish, anything of the later period of the Beatles, I think that it behooves everybody that likes music to listen to Led Zeppelin, to listen to the Rolling Stones, to listen to Black Sabbath. You just get a great foundation of fantastic guitar music.
Or maybe go to the Spotify and search for Ethan
Des.
For amazing playlists that he created. There's a playlist, a bunch of playlists that you create for a certain.
I have quite a few playlists of the music I love to listen to, and music inspires everything I do, particularly with design, particularly with clothing. So, yeah, it's a little clue to what we're doing and what my inspirations are is the music that's on our playlists.
Thank you so much, Ethan. Thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure.
Thank you. ถ้าเกิดใครพลาดทั้งโชว์ครั้งนี้ครับของไบแซนก็รอบหน้าครับอีชันน่าจะมาอีกรอบนึงนะครับก็แค่นี้ก่อนครับพบกันใหม่คลิปหน้าครับสำหรับวันนี้ลาไปก่อนสวัสดีครับ Thank you.
Awesome.